Greetings, Scotty Reed here, and I just want to do a quick video. I normally don't do these type of videos, but I just wanted to do a quick video since y'all many have heard the news that the end of net neutrality came today. For those that don't know what net neutrality is, because there's a lot of people that don't seem to understand the potential negative impact that rolling back net neutrality rules could have on us, whether we are entrepreneurs, whether we are independent black media producers. You know, we have people who always talk about the importance of having our own. All right, and I'm speaking of black people right now, but we hear these people say, hey, we need our own radio network. We need our own digital radio network. So in 2008, the Black Talk Media Project, the U.S. based nonprofit that I have been running since 2008, we established the Black Talk Radio Network, you know, because we were all over there on Blog Talk Radio. And during that time in 2007, we were experiencing a lot of racism on Blog Talk Radio. So people was like, hey, we need our own. So we built our own. We have Black Talk Radio Network now. While it's only a small collective of us, we still have our own, where our messages cannot be filtered, where we can't be booted off the air or anything, because it's our own. That's because of net neutrality rules. And a lot of people don't understand what net neutrality is. So let me just give you a quick breakdown of net neutrality or an example. All right, picture the highway, because you know the internet for the longest has been known as the information highway. So let's say we're on a 2-lane highway. All right, one of the lanes is going real slow. We backed up in traffic, like, you know, everybody's trying to get off on the same exit or something, or there's been some accident, and so the traffic is backing up, and so you know, it's slow going. But in the other lane, let's call it the high occupancy vehicle lane, where, you know, you got to have more than one person. Y'all know that lane is always clear and it's fast and those cars just moving along. Well, picture the information highway like that. If these internet access providers, and I know a lot of people call them internet service providers, they are not providing you the internet. The internet is a global network of computers that allow those computers to serve up information to those who log on to the internet. It's a communications tool first and foremost. They did not invent that. The internet was invented with U.S. tax dollars. Okay. I'm not clear on the exact history, but some say it started as with the military. In case of a nuclear war, the United States military using the internet will still be able to communicate, because unlike telephone lines, which are above ground, most internet cables, fiber optics, and what are buried underground. So therefore, if there's an EMP, you know, electronic pulse that will knock out communications, is likely that the internet will still survive, because if you knock out one hub, there's another hub that traffic on the internet will be rerouted. So that's kind of how it started, all paid for mainly by U.S. tax dollars. So these internet companies are not giving you internet service. They're giving you access. They're giving you a point of access to get on the internet. Now, if let's say AT&T or Verizon is no longer prohibited from slowing down that traffic, well, they might say to Black Talk Media Project, hey, we notice you get a lot of traffic on Black Talk Radio Network, and we're going to, you know, implement these new fees. And if you want to keep getting that traffic, then you got to come up with this money to pay these fees. Do y'all think the Black Talk Media Project, which again is a small U.S. based nonprofit, and we don't take money from foundations, we don't, you know, survive on corporate advertisers, we pretty much have the same motto as NPR, as National Public Radio. That's what we are. We are public media, and we have survived for 9 years off of small donations from less than 200 people, regardless of the fact that millions of people in this 9 years have tuned in, regardless of the fact that we average about 60,000 people tuning in to our radio streams and whatnot. They are not donating. So therefore, we won't have the funds to pay AT&T to be in the fast lane. Now, I spent 6 years in the U.S. military as a communication specialist. The ability to be able to communicate on the battlefield, and for those that listen to Black Talk Radio News, y'all know I always say I'm broadcasting from behind the enemy lines of USA Inc. I always say that it's a war out there. The entire planet is a battlefield. Well, that was my job in the U.S. military, was communications. If you can't communicate with your people in the field, your troops in the field, then you're going to be in disarray. Okay, you're not going to be able to coordinate to those troops where they need to be, what they need to be doing, and all of that. You just won't be able to do it. So, we won't be able to communicate to all our listeners. And then this is I'm dealing in hypotheticals. I'm not saying that this will happen, that they will start putting people in the slow lane and what. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but it is a very serious possibility because we know capitalists are greedy and that's all they think about is money and any way they can squeeze money out of us. So I'm not saying that it's concrete that this is going to happen. It's also going to depend on who is your internet access provider and whether or not they are throttling websites. What throttling means is I can either, like when you throttle a motorcycle, I can either turn it up or I could, turn it down. Okay. So if they end up throttling us, how are we going to communicate with our global audience? We have a global audience on Black Talk Radio Network. We have people from in Africa who listen, people in the Caribbean. One guy who actually, I gave him my personal phone number. He listens to the station in the U.S. Virgin Islands. So we have been able to coordinate and communicate with people in the African diaspora all over the planet. And if you don't understand why that's important, then you just don't get it. You just don't get it. Okay? Communications is important on the battlefield. All right. So what if we're only left with Facebook? How many of y'all been thrown in Facebook jail? Okay. What if all we're left with to get our message out to our people is YouTube? How many YouTube channels have been shut down by YouTube? All right. So our communications will be at the mercy of those who don't have the same agenda or the same interests as us. Okay. So this is very serious, and I don't think that people are taking it very serious, especially black people. I read a comment, and it's not about me calling people out or anything, so I'm not going to name the person, but this is a well-known person who is considered a revolutionary. And I don't know if he said it or if somebody else said it, or if they were being truthful in what he said. But this person put on Facebook just a few minutes ago that I read it saying that, hey, we got people in these other countries living off of $2 a day. Or, however, they're talking about the white supremacist term of third world countries who don't have internet access. So, of course, they are not concerned with losing internet access because they ain't never had it. Okay. Now let's talk about entrepreneurs. All right. You may have a storefront business. Black Talk Media Project, we have a couple of clients that operate web-based businesses that sell items over the internet. Right? So what if their platform that we built for them on the internet is then subjected to throttling to where, hey, if you want people to be able to access your website where they could purchase your candles or your scented oils or your shea butter, soap or whatever product it is that you are selling, hey, if you don't pay us these extra fees, this is the internet access providers telling you this, then guess what? These people won't be able to get to your website to purchase that. Now, you say, well, Walmart is $1 billion. I don't know how much they're worth, but it's in the billions, okay? They will have the money to make sure that their customers all over the world, regardless of whatever internet access provider they are using, will be able to access their websites. The Walmart website, to where you can make purchases from Walmart. Same thing with the other big retail chains like Target or Amazon. You won't have no problem. So, but if you're a small business operating a storefront on the internet, guess what? This could kill your business. Again, I'm dealing in what could happen. I'm not saying these things will happen for sure, but it could happen. And again, it depends on all these individual internet access providers and how they are going to operate on the internet. So people need to take this serious. It's very serious. You know, we see now that there have been efforts to even bring internet to people in these other countries so that they can take advantage of educational opportunities on the informational highway for them to be able to access funding, you know, with this new crowdfunding rules that the U.S. government and these other governments are putting in place that allows us to raise money on the internet. Well, guess what? They may lose that ability. So they're trying to get the internet. So I don't see the purpose in telling me other people are surviving off a few dollars a day without the internet. What that got to do with us, and what that got to do with our mission, and what that got to do with us having the ability to securely communicate. All right. And I just think particularly black people, I could be wrong, but I particularly think black people are not taking this serious. Because what? You love Facebook. You got Twitter. And of course, Facebook and Twitter, these are billion-dollar capitalist companies, are going to have their platforms readily accessible by all of these internet access providers. Well, what is that going to do to these various black social media platforms that have popped up? Because people was getting banned off of Facebook. They was, hey, we need our own. So that's why the Black Talk Media Project built our own social media platform called BTR Community. Now, what's going to happen to that? Being that we don't have a lot of financial support from the community, and, you know, but I still feel good about us being able to survive 9 years without that kind of financial support, without having our hands out to the government and seeking grants. But what's going to happen to our operations if nobody can access our platforms? What's the point? So this is a consolidation of power. Really, it's a consolidation of power. Don't you know that 6 companies control 95% of what the world sees, hears, and watches? Okay. Now, they already don't want us having access to real information. They already don't want us having real communication. So if this net neutrality hinders our ability to run our own platforms where they can't shut us down or throw us in jail or cyber jail or whatever, what is it going to do to us? All right. Now, I heard somebody else say, and I mean, these are valid points, but, you know, these people aren't looking at the big picture. They don't understand technology as I do. All right. So I had this person who wrote that, hey, Marcus Garvey had this, was able to communicate with people worldwide, and he didn't have the internet. Well, guess what he did have? He had a printing press. He had newspapers that it took him a long time to build up that distribution network, and it cost money. Okay. We live in a different time. Newspapers are dead, y'all. Don't nobody really buy newspapers anymore because everything has been moved online. Marcus Garvey would not be able to do that with newspapers today. Where would Marcus Garvey be if he was around today? He'd be on the internet talking to black people and putting out his message. Okay? So we need to be real about these things and be realistic. We live in a different time period. This is a different world than the world that Marcus Garvey was living in. Okay? And yeah, the Black Panther Party, they had a national newspaper that they sold. You know, you got the Nation of Islam with the Final Call. But again, that was a different time period. That is not the primary means of communicating ideals that people use today. Okay? So this is a bad thing. This could possibly turn into a bad thing. This is a consolidation on the ability of people to disseminate information. And you need to recognize it for what it is. I hope that they don't start throttling these websites, but you know, if they have the ability to make a few more pennies, then they gonna do that. And I just simply don't know what the future of independent media, let alone independent black media, is going to be if these people have their way. All right, I don't want to go on any rant, so that's all I have to say about it. You need to take this very, very serious. Now, if you content to be on Mark Zuckerberg's platform, if you content to be over there at Twitter, if you're content with YouTube, then hey, you ain't got nothing to worry about until you say something they don't like and they suspend you from those platforms. So people, take this very serious, right? And while we can, please support the independent platforms that's out there. Again, I managed a Black Talk Media Project for 8 years as a U.S.-based nonprofit, running off of the donations of the people and the small services that we do provide, like building people their own media platforms. What's going to happen to us? So unless you support us, then hey, we gone. We out. We are out. Okay? And if you don't want to support Black Talk Radio Network and our sister networks on the platforms that we have built for them, and we assist them with their digital radio and all of that, then find a platform. You got Black Agenda Report out there. They take donations. All right. You got Breaking Brown with Yvette Carnell. She take donations. Okay. And I'm sitting here wondering, hell, in a month or two, will I still be able to access allafrica.com so I can find out what's going on in the continent of Africa from Africans? All right? This is very serious, people. And to be trying to say back in the 60s or back in the 50s or the 30s that, hey, we didn't have the internet. We ain't living in the 30s. We live in the 21st century, okay? And we need to have the ability to communicate our messages to our people without interruption and without censorship. And that is basically what net neutrality is in a nutshell, is censorship. All right. That's all I got to say about it today. I'm out. Peace and blessings to all.